Today on the DML News Podcast, Mr. Comey is back in the news again for not so much nice things about our president. And President Trump has been spending a lot of time in the Middle East. We're going to speak about that. Plus, we're going to talk about birthright citizenship. We've got a couple of topics today. Denny's next to me, Ryan's on the controls, and we're all unfiltered.
Dennis Michael Lynch gives you his word, and he will never let you down. He will always fight for America.
The only one who really puts his money where his mouth is Dennis Michael Lynch.
Hello, I'm Dennis Michael Lynch, and I thank you for joining me today. As I said, Dennis, my son, next to me here today, going to help me with the commentary, and on the controls is my son, Ryan. We come to you today as one of the last shows. If you missed our show the other day on, I think it was, Tuesday, we announced that we're going to be winding down this podcast at the end of May. Because I need to retire of sorts for a bunch of different reasons. If you want to know why, you'll have to go back and watch or listen to Tuesday's show. But we will have a show today, and then we will have a couple of shows next week. I think Monday is one of them. I'm not necessarily certain, but check out the DML News app for those notices. If you don't have the DML News app, you can download it for free from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. And also, we will be notifying you via the 47 Report. That's 47report.com. It's a 7-day-a-week newsletter, but you probably know that already. And we discuss all things Trump. I don't need a Bible on that, Dennis. Just write what the things are. All things Trump and what's going on with his presidency. We also discuss the resistance, these fine people we're going to talk about in a second here, who try to bring the president to his knees, and MAGA along with it. So go to 47report.com, put in your email address, and you will get that every single day. If you don't get it, check your spam, because of course the left also runs the email programs, and sometimes they just are very ugly to us. So, and if you sign up for the 47 Report, by default, you get the DML Report. So these things will alert you to when our next shows are. If you're Team DML, obviously, Denny's going to post it right there in the top marquee, and you'll know. But I think we're back here on Monday, and then, I don't know, I have a couple of procedures next week, so I'm not sure which days I'm going to be out. But I had a procedure on Wednesday for my hand, and that was supposed to last for 10 minutes, and I was actually under the knife for an hour. And so I'm feeling it today, let me tell you that. All right, with all that said, James Comey, former FBI director, the guy who, as far as I'm concerned, has done more illegal things than the illegal aliens in your country. For whatever reason, I don't know, maybe he just wants the attention from the FBI and the Department of Justice. I have no idea why he would do this. Ryan has a photo. We're going to throw it up right now. And you could see he took seashells and he made the numbers 8647 in the sand and then posted it to social media. Now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize what that message is, okay? Just like if you were on a deserted beach and you wrote SOS, nobody would think that you were trying to say slip on soap, okay? Everybody knows that 86 is a short for kill, and 47 is the number of this president. We know this. I just told you about the 47 Report. 8647. So 8647 is James Comey basically calling for the assassination of President Trump in code, and not tough code. In fact, President Trump was asked about this on Fox News, and he mirrors what my opinion is on this, that any person with half a brain knows what 8647 means. Unless those are the last four digits of his Social Security number, James Comey was calling for the death of our president. Here's Trump in his own words.
He knew exactly what that meant. A child knows what that meant. If you're the FBI director and you don't know what that meant assassination. And it says it loud and clear. Now, he wasn't very competent. but he was competent enough to know what that meant. And he did it for a reason, and he was hit so hard because people like me, and they like what's happening with our country. Our country has become respected again, and all this. And he's calling for the assassination of the president.
Obviously, he apologized and said he doesn't.
Well, he
wasn't calling
apologized
for
because he was
violence. But
look, he's a very bad.
What do you want to see happen? What do you want to see happen?
I don't want to take a position on it because that's going to be up to Pam and all of the great people. But I will say this: I think it's a terrible thing, and when you add his history to that, if he had a clean history, he doesn't. He's a dirty cop. He's a dirty cop, and if he had a clean history, I could understand if there was a leniency, but I'm going to let them make that decision.
My take on this is that he just called for somebody, anybody out there, to kill the president of the United States. That to me is just as bad as any kind of terrorist message that would be out there. Dennis, what are they saying on social media about this?
I was about to comment this, and then I just saw Shirley had said the same thing.
Who's Shirley?
Shirley Blanchard.
Okay.
So Comey is claiming that he stumbled upon these stoned messages at the beach, but I highly doubt it because I don't really know any sane person who's just going around on a random beach and taking very intricate stones to put 8647 and then, just leave it in the sand and not, I don't know, themselves take a photo and try to publish it. So there's no doubt in my mind it's Comey. I think the man's very deranged, and he's trying to spin it as, oh, it just means, that we just want to get rid of him in terms of like voting him out and this and that. But no, I mean, as you said, anyone with a brain definitely knows that term is more of a elimination in terms of its meaning rather than we just want him to step down. So this is just, I think, Comey looking for attention because he's a small little man, and he's probably just very, angry and has a vendetta against Trump, considering he was fired by Trump. But from what I've read, Kristi Noem, Tulsi Gabbard, they're all calling for an investigation into his words. I think Secret Service is actually paying him a visit. So this is a good sign that, hey, it doesn't matter who you are. You make a veiled or not so veiled threat against the president, you're going to get a knock on your door.
I don't know what the difference is between had he formed the rocks himself or had the rocks or shells already been formed before he got there. I don't think it matters who actually wrote that in the sand. I think it matters more on he posted it. It doesn't matter. If right now Ryan wrote on a piece of paper, "Kill Dad," and then he handed you that photo and you put it up there publicly, you're to blame. You're the person who sent the message out. And so unless there is something in the law that Comey knows that we don't, that protects him by him saying, "I found those on the beach," he still posted it. So if it's not him trying to send a message of assassination, and it's just him being a sarcastic prick, that still indicates he has ill feelings for Trump that need to be addressed, not blown off. And the problem with somebody like Comey, there's no doubt in my mind he has ill feelings for Trump. The question becomes is sitting at home for as long as he has now, and I'm sure when he goes out to public places, there are just as many people who scream at him ugly words as those who think he's great. In other words, whenever he runs into a Democrat, they're going to say, "Yeah, Trump's an ass." Whenever he runs into a Republican or somebody who is a Trump voter, he's going to wind up getting snarls. He's not going to remember the nice things that were said to him, because the nice things that said to him, I mean, I've had them before. They're passing by. "Hey, thank you so much. All right, have a great day. All right, yeah, nice to meet you too." Versus the other people who try to pick a fight with you. or other people who say nasty things to you when your family is around, those things stick with you. Those things are problematic. Those things will run through your head at nighttime when you're laying down and you're thinking about all the things that took place. And as time goes, if you have no other way of filling your time, your brain can start going into a very evil direction. And so I think this man needs to be on a 24/7 list. That means that he is always being watched. And you know what? It's not unfair. He earned it himself by posting what he posted. And that's really it. Last word on this goes to you.
Yeah, I think it's just a big indication of Trump derangement syndrome. I mean, we had in the 47 report, Bruce Springsteen, kicked off his music tour this week, and he starts his show by calling Trump corrupt, incompetent, and treasonous. I mean, who wants to go to a concert and have their music set start off with such ridiculous statements? It's just, if Comey came by that on the sand like he claims, why wouldn't he reach out to authorities? Why wouldn't he say, oh, hey, I just found a threat that could be a danger to the president? It's just very clear that he's just an angry little man, and he should be watched very much so going forward. And I think it's a really good indication that we got to be very careful who we're putting into these positions of power, because this was the guy heading one of our biggest agencies in the country, and he's childish or immature enough to throw some stones in the sand that call for the assassination, essentially, of President Trump. These people just aren't thinking right. And I don't know if it's because he is corrupt to the core, or he really is just that, I don't know, vengeful. But either way, I'm glad that there's hopefully a response. I mean, I think the best response could be handcuffs, but I will hold my breath on actually seeing that. But there should be at least some accountability here for Comey's actions. But, 8647. We all know what it means.
I'd like to believe that the FBI under Patel and Bongino and the DOJ under Pam would end up in having a really thorough report being done. And what I mean by thorough report being done is that it will absolutely, even if it comes out to be nothing, it will still make Comey's life miserable. And he asked for it. And I hope he gets what he asked for in terms of, an investigation and having, if he wanted the attention, because that's why you post something like that on social media. If he wanted the attention, he should get it in spades.
Totally. I mean, a lot of these people are starving for attention. I mean, him and his book deals and his little hits on MSNBC and all the news segments. I've never found him to be someone who has the best interest of the country in mind. I mean, he's someone who I think gloats a lot more in the media rather than, touting his expertise on, oh, this is how I stop crime. But yes, I would hope that Patel and Pam Bondi really enact some action here against him.
Very interesting comment here from a Carrie McCluskey Fleming. She wrote, I live in Idaho. Over 4 years ago, there was an anti-war protest in Boise. A girl held a sign that read, kill Trump now. The authorities did nothing because it didn't say that she wanted to. Pretty lame. May want to look into it further. I have a picture of the girl with the sign. And, it's, I don't know. We have free speech in this country. And you are allowed to say what you feel as long as it's not, putting people's lives at danger, like falsely saying there's fire in a movie theater. That's the example everybody always uses, even though movie theaters nowadays are dead. I think we should add to that you can say what you want, but you can't put people's lives in danger on social media. And that right there, being a public figure, I think there needs to be a level of responsibility. I'll tell you what, if I or somebody else, let's say somebody else, because I would never do something like this. If somebody wrote something that was completely racist, and I mean hatefully racist, online, they would be investigated by the DOJ for a hate crime. They would absolutely do it. So why is it that somebody is going to be looked at and held accountable for writing something that was, KKK level racist, but won't be held accountable for saying that we should 86 the president of the United States? I'd be interested to see how far this goes.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, to your point with the free speech, you want to slam Trump, say Trump sucks, this and that, go ahead. I mean, even going through X, I have seen some very creative insults leveraged against the president. But when you start going down a slippery slope here, I mean, we had this in the 47 report, I think a few days ago, a teacher from Maine, teaching elementary school students, basically calling for the death of Trump and his entire administration. She gets investigated, but then, nothing more comes out of it. And I just think it's interesting because I know it's our next segment. Some of the countries that Trump just visited, let's just say they would not even tolerate slander, let alone, death threats to any of their leaders. And those are countries that more or less repress free speech. So I think there's a thin line here of, yeah, have free speech, criticize Trump if you want, lambaste him if you want, like Bruce Springsteen did. But when you start going into these messages saying, hey, it's time to, really stick it to Trump in a violent way, that needs to be quelled because that's just no good.
Speaking about Trump, like you said, he just had himself a, let's call it a whirlwind tour over in the Middle East. And, for many, many years now, I have been, I don't know how you would say it. I've been voicing my opinions. How's that sound? Everything from making films to being on television to being on the radio and now here on the podcast, the DML News app or whatever. I mean, I have made a career out of this. And the one thing that I have been consistently consistent on, even when it hurts me on the bottom line, because obviously I do all these things and it ties to my businesses, I have always been able to put my head on the pillow at night, knowing that when I didn't like something and it needed to be said, I said it, even if it went against maybe the popular view. The popular view these days is to only say great things about Trump. If you don't say something great about Trump, you become a traitor, you're on the other side, all the other different stuff. I mean, it's nonsense. Most people don't think like that, but for whatever reason, those outrageous statements always seem to get the most attention. So it's with a little bit of risk here that you will no longer want to read me or see me or hear me or be a Team DML member, because I'm going to say that I'm not crazy about the Middle East trip and how it is that it went. I wrote a whole op-ed on this on the DML report and said, hey, look, I voted for Trump 3 times. I respect him. I think he's the best president of my lifetime. But, right behind him is Reagan. If somebody wants me to say it was a great idea that Reagan gave amnesty just because I have to fall in line with the message, I'm not going to do that. So the same thing goes here. As a person who ran from the buildings on 9/11, I'm always a little bit more sensitive to what is happening in the Middle East with these Muslim-based nations. I don't trust them. I don't trust them one iota. In fact, to try to get the sentiment of people, and it kind of made me feel sad, the answers I got, I posted to Facebook the other day, who do you trust more, CNN or Saudi Arabia? And the majority of the answers all came back and said Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabians were the ones who took down 3,000 Americans on 9/11. Some people may want to forget that. I just can't. It's embedded in me in the same way that I can see the bandage that's on my hand right now. I can't avoid it. No matter how I turn my hand, I see it. I can't avoid what I lived on 9/11, and I won't. I think I have an obligation to always remind people what happened that day, so this way it doesn't happen again. So when I see our president over there doing deals with the Saudis and Qatar and the UAE, I just sit there and I say, man, there's got to be a better way. Because as great as Trump is at negotiating, I mean, my God, I touted his negotiating skills last week, maybe tenfold of what they deserve to be when it came to all the tariffs and the way things are now going to present themselves in months to come when these tariffs actually do hit, and all the countries like China who are now folding. It was a great negotiating tactic. I knew it was going to wind up working. But when I see us taking hundreds of billions of dollars from these Muslim nations, and when I see them giving Trump this ego boosting presentation, and Ryan, if you want to play the B-roll of the video with the girls' heads waving, I can see this a mile away. I can see this. I can see this a world away. The Muslim nation understands how to get into our crevices. They understand how to take over America from within. The Muslim world has one objective, and that is to make the world all Islam. It is their single one objective. They are, and to a certain degree, it will cause, in many cases, what's called jihad. And the Quran says to the Muslim that they are allowed to lie, they're allowed to cheat, steal, do whatever they have to do if they are indeed carrying out jihad. And so the Muslim Brotherhood has a doctrine, and that doctrine was revealed back in the early 2000s in the Holy Land Foundation trial here in the United States. And it was all about funding terrorist groups and stuff of that nature. I'm not going to go deep into what that trial was, but it was one of the biggest trials in U.S. history. And one of the things that came out was the doctrine that was found in a raid. And I believe that raid was in Colorado. And it says that the best way to take over America is not to fly airplanes into skyscrapers. It is to take over the country from within, meaning take it over from the government, take it over from education, take it over from media, take it over from business, and just chip away, chip away, chip away, chip away. Ironically, the Chinese have the same strategy. So when I look at what they're doing with Trump, they're giving us money. Basically, what they're doing is they're buying access. Now, they may not be buying access through Trump, but they're buying future access. That's a given. And so because Trump does love to be praised, and everybody knows that, what they do is they up the praise to the next level. And they use the one resource that they have aplenty, and that's cash. So the fact that we're doing these deals, whether they're trade deals or taking in Saudi investment, scares the living shit out of me. And obviously, President Trump would disagree with me on this. And I'll let you hear him in his own words as he signs the guest book at the UAE. Play it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President.
It's like in the old, just a lot heavier.
Sir, your message to the people of Abu Dhabi.
Well, it's just a message of unity when you look at what we've just seen. It's great unity, great faith, incredible people with a tremendous leader who's a friend of mine.
There will never be such thing as unity in the Middle East. It is impossible. You would need to have almost every Muslim to disregard the one thing that they all cherish, and that is the Quran and Allah. The same way the Bible and Jesus is to most of you out there, that is Allah and the Quran to them. And so they follow out all those rules. They follow out all those messagings. And when you look at Sharia law and you compare it to that of the Constitution, we have a fundamental problem. When you look at the Quran and then you look at the Bible, we have a fundamental problem. And so the Jews can't, for a single day, ever put their guard down. When they do, they get October 7th. The United States could never put their guard down. When we do, although we put our guard down all the time, we get September 11s. We are setting ourselves up for trouble in thinking for one moment that there will ever be peace in the Middle East or that there would be unity around the world with the Muslim nation. There is no bending with these people. And so you can put on the biggest parades, you can take all the camels and all the horses and all the different We God Bless America songs and play them for Trump. So this way his ego goes through the stratosphere. But at the end of the day, it is a strategy. It is a lie. It is a lie. So this way the Muslim world can carry out what they want to carry out. They see the United States as being weak. They see Trump as being temporary. And they are trying to get their claws into this country in the same way that China is. Dennis, if you disagree with me, you're more than welcome to yell at your father.
Well, no, I think what you said is pretty spot on with a lot of things. So I think I might just go the numbers route, just so, because I'm not sure if you're too familiar. So this is what has been signed in the last 3 days through Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE. It totals around $4 trillion as the mass amount. So Saudi Arabia, $600 billion deals over the next 4 years. And the focus areas are defense, AI, and infrastructure investments. Qatar, $1.2 trillion million dollars. Same thing with AI, and I believe NVIDIA chips as well, and a Boeing aircraft order that would be given to them. Then the UAE has $1.4 trillion over the next decade. Same thing, AI, NVIDIA chips, as well as a 5G WAI campus in Abu Dhabi. So in total, $4 trillion, but the actual value of finalized binding agreements is estimated to be between $730 billion to $1.4 trillion. That is quite a lot of money.
Okay. I love money just as much as the next person does. And I shouldn't even use that term. I take that back. I love having money just as much as the next person does. And listen, as far as I'm concerned, money is one of those things where quite often people feel like you can never have enough, right? But what I wouldn't do is I wouldn't put my wife in a mini skirt, tight t-shirt, and lipstick and stick her on the corner and sell her for $500 for 5 minutes. I wouldn't pimp her out for the sake of money. I wouldn't put my kids in trafficking, circles and say, hey, well, how much are you selling? How much are you buying kids for in sex camps? Here you go. There's a point to which you say no. Now, those examples I just gave of Mary and selling you guys for nefarious reasons may be a bit extreme, but we're talking about people who carried out 9/11. We're talking about people who fund terrorism. We're talking about people who fundamentally live their lives according to a different set of principles than we do. So yeah, I'm going to go extreme. But if you don't want to go that extreme, let's do another thing. I mean, there's a lot of things in here. There's a lot of things in my office here that have been given to me for gifts, and I can probably take them and go sell them tomorrow and trade them in. But then I give up the sentimental value. I give up the importance of it is that some person gave me a flag that was put on their father's coffin and gave it to me as a gift. Sure, I could probably sell it for a couple $1,000, but at some point, the money does not supersede the level of smarts or the level of honesty or the level of pride or the level of security that you want your company, your country to hold. And I don't care if they would have given us $100 trillion. At some point, who gives a shit if you lose a city, if you lose a building, if you lose your country? I mean, if you lose, you want to see hell on earth? Go to Dearborn, Michigan. If that to you, and I mean anybody out there, and Trump included, if that to you is worth $1.4 trillion to have your entire country look like Dearborn, Michigan, then we are on different sides of the world. Because here's what I won't accept. In the same way that I will not accept the commentary or the notion or the idea that our economy collapses if we deport every illegal alien. I cannot believe that our economy stands on falling off the cliff or stands on growing based on cheap illegal labor. I can't believe that. If that's what the American economy is built upon, illegal labor, we're eventually going to wind up falling off the cliff. And if you're going to tell me that I need $1.4 trillion from a region of the world that thinks we're better off with our heads chopped off, if I need that $1.4 million in order to keep my economy, I'd rather be poor. I don't understand it. And if anybody out there, and this is where I just shake my head, this is not a 4D chess game. If somebody out there believes that this is really going to be promising for us long term, you got to tell me how that is. You got to tell me how the United States of America benefits from this. Because I'll tell you what's going to happen with the $1.4 trillion. Yeah, we're going to open up a business. We're going to open up a this. We're going to open up a that. And of course, these are going to be big, huge, huge openings. So what we're going to need is we're going to need a whole town of people that come from our country. And so what you're going to see is an importation of more people, an importation of more children, an importation of more doctrine that do not align with the United States of America. And I believe that the $1.4 trillion did nothing other than buy more Dearborn, Michigans. That's my feeling. And nobody's going to sell me different.
Do you want me to? So some of the discourse is this a case of keep your enemies closer? Keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer.
Anybody who writes that kind of bullshit, I mean, what are you talking about? Keep your enemies closer? So what are we going to do now? What are we going to do next? Sell California to the Chinese so we can watch them a little closer? What are we going to do now? Make Vladimir Putin vice president? What does that mean? Keep your enemies closer. By going over there, praising these people, telling the UAE that they've got a great leader, signing deals to where they're going to start building factories or doing whatever in our country? We don't need that shit.
Well,
that's not keeping your enemies closer.
Yeah, and then some of with like Dearborn, as you use that example, I mean, is it not somewhat the fault of the U.S. for allowing Dearborn to happen? I mean, ultimately, we are the gatekeeper of what's allowed to come into the country.
Dearborn, Michigan happened because the U.S. Congress didn't listen to the American people. The U.S. Congress upped the amount of immigration that we take into this year every single year, over 1 million people. Historically, we didn't take that. We used to take 250,000 people, which is still way too much. And then all of a sudden, the U.S. government decided we need to take in over 1 million people because they were worried about our population, which is total bullshit. It's taking the U.S. over from within. In the same way that Ilhan Omar wound up having the U.S. government change the rules about being able to wear a headpiece inside the halls of Congress, when before her, cancer patients were not allowed to wear a scarf because that was the rule. You want to talk about taking over from within? I just gave you the perfect example. So Dearborn, Michigan is an absolute disaster. It is the poster child, and there's many Dearborn, Michigans, by the way, now in the United States of America. You know this. You've reported on it 3 times. They're building a whole city down there in Texas.
Well, they finally killed the plan, which is good. But at the same time, the fact that it was even allowed to get off the ground in the first place is concerning.
It got killed this time. The next time it's going to go through. You keep on trying and trying and trying until you get through. Okay? So I can take you to Houston. I could drive you around, and you'll see freaking mosques the size of Home Depots. So let me tell you, your entire country has been changing for a long time. You may not have seen it in your own backyard yet, but drive outside the perimeters of your county. We have ourselves a problem. And Dearborn, Michigan is the problem that comes from mass immigration and from doing deals with people you shouldn't be doing deals with. It's that simple. Keep your enemies closer. Is that why Hillary Clinton sold Uranium One to Russia? Was everybody happy about that? We're like, hey, we're keeping our enemies closer. I mean, did we let a spy balloon cross our country because, hey, got to keep your enemies closer? No, we make these stupid mistakes. We pay for them later on, and we wonder how this happened. It's not hard. We had a great thing going. This is a little bit of isolationist on me. you could say, of me, but so be it. I believe in immigration. I believe in having friendly relationships with all countries. We can do that. I don't even have a problem with doing some trade deals when they make sense. But you have your country, you build your country. I'm going to build my country. My country was built on Judeo Christian principles. My country was built on the Constitution of the United States. I'm not going to bend on that for anybody. If you don't like what we have here, if you don't like our churches, if you don't like our laws, if you don't like our weather, then don't come. And if you're here and you don't like it, excuse my profanity, but it's coming. Get the fuck out. It's that simple. So this idea that we've got to go doing all these deals, instead of the president using all of his time and his negotiating prowess over in the Middle East, how about we send him into California? How about we send him into some places in Chicago? What about we start cleaning up this country? Can we send him in? I mean, I know he just did the executive order to try to make First Nation status or Best Nation status with drugs coming down. That's great. How about we spend more time in the healthcare industry, so this way, dealing with the insurance companies, so this way, Dennis Michael Lynch doesn't have to pay $3,500 a month for health insurance that barely gives me anything. Nobody ever talks about healthcare in this country. Why aren't we talking about healthcare? We've got airports that are just crumbling. Why aren't we doing that? We still got over 1 million people coming in here legally every single year. Why aren't we doing something with that? That's where the energy should be placed, not this $1.4 trillion with the people who burn our flag, call for our heads to be chopped off, and knocked down 2 buildings on 9/11 and drove another one into the Pentagon. And then, of course, you're going to have the people who say, well, that was an inside job. Well, even if it was an inside job, who do you think it was inside the fucking building? It was the people we let in. So if it was an inside job, yeah, because they're doing what they said. They're carrying out the doctrine. Take the country down from within. There you go. Next. Which one should we cover? Tom Homan sounding like a Democrat or a Democrat sounding like a maniac? Which one's next? You want to go with Tom?
We'll go with Tom.
Got me on a fucking roll here. Let's go with Tom Homan. So Tom Homan, the border czar, was on a podcast. A guy named Sean Ryan, an ex-Navy SEAL, has a podcast. Tom Homan was on there, and he went a little soft on the illegal aliens that are here. Maybe we're going soft. We're going to make love to the Middle East, and of course, now we're going to embrace the illegal aliens. I guess we're trying to give Dennis Michael Lynch a heart attack on me, and then they realize how to do it. Much easier than putting a bullet in my head. Just make my heart explode. Go.
Even the illegal immigrant community, even though they're in the country illegally, many of them, once they get here, are pretty law-abiding. They're family people. They care about their families too. They don't want a predator in their neighborhood either. They don't want someone arrested for DUI 10 times in their neighborhood either.
When an illegal alien is in here, they don't want to be amid people who are drunk driving. Really? Is it really? I don't even know what to say. I mean, maybe Tom Homan should have just gone there holding a Palestinian flag while he was there at the Sean Ryan show.
That was when I saw that yesterday. The massive disappointment that overtook my body. I mean, this is the guy who was going on media hits saying, I don't care who you are. If you're here illegally, you're going to go. And even in that podcast, listening to more clips, and he, goes with that rhetoric. But you just said the word, right? Soft. As soon as you even introduce the idea of what he's trying to say here, that there are illegal immigrants just trying to live safely and contribute amongst the really bad ones. I mean, that is, whether anyone wants to agree or disagree, that is a 180 of what he was starting off with the message. He was brought in to be the bulldog, to say, hey, here come the mass deportations. Hey, if you cross the border, you already committed a crime. So, and I just, I have some feelings with the Sean Ryan podcast. It seems like every time he gets a guest on, they all kind of say something that just makes you go, huh? Because he had Kash Patel on as well. And, that was the same guy who said he would turn the FBI headquarters into a museum on day one. And we're on day 117. So there's definitely some very weirdness to hear Tom Homan even kind of speaking that rhetoric, considering he and Stephen Miller, in my opinion, were the two guys who were going to lead this immigration charge of we got to clean up the country. There are too many illegal aliens here. I mean, as much as we do see the videos and we do see people saying, "Hey, this one's getting deported," but then you get the judge injunctions that say, "Oh, well, you can't send them right away." And then I'll just be honest, as much as I see maybe one post about, "Oh, I just saw someone get deported," I then see 5 to 6 posts saying, "Oh, really? They're still on my corner. Oh, really? I still see them working here. Oh, really? I just saw a whole truckload go by, and they're, not carrying citizenship." So Tom Homan, of all people, to say that, I'm just going to say it's a capital D for very disappointing. He's someone that I've always kind of put the faith in that he would keep the rhetoric at least going and at least try to do the action that he can. And I think it was 2 months ago where he was even just kind of voicing his annoyance by these sanctuary cities and these liberal blue mayors that were trying to tell cops and other law enforcement you can't work with ICE. So he was kind of a bulldog in the China cabinet saying, like, hey, we're going to do what we can to round up, deport, and get them out. And to hear a comment like that just said so almost nonchalantly, if I didn't say it was Tom Homan and I changed the voice, you would think it was someone on the Democrat side or a rhino Republican.
Yeah, I mean, so there's one or two different things that happen there. Either one, the administration has made a choice to soften the rhetoric. I don't know who would have told them that. Maybe they think that the rhetoric needs to be softened for the midterms. The thing that crushes me about the Republican Party each and every time is they win. They win on rhetoric, they win on strategy, and then the same rhetoric and strategy that got them to the winner's circle, they change it. And it's like, why? Why don't you know how to win long term? So if that is the strategy, I'm not surprised because it's apropos. It's par for the course. The second reason why it would have happened, maybe Dennis, is that maybe Tom was taken out of context, and maybe I don't know. He looked like he was half asleep there, but I mean, why would you say something like that? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
If he was trying to, let me just say this: if he was trying to emphasize that he's really getting the bad guys, and these are the guys that even the illegal aliens don't want, it was a bad choice of words.
Yeah, and look, I mean, I got to just show how strong I am on this too. I mean, and I hate calling this person out because I know you're a listener, but from Norma on Facebook, right? Dennis, I personally know an illegal alien who has been here 21 years. He is a decent, hardworking person who loves his family and would love to be able to be a legal immigrant. Norma, respectfully, I don't care. If they are here illegally, that means they're here illegally. They should not be here. That we, and you specifically, have covered extensively for years the spiderweb ramification effect of what happens when a legal alien comes into the country. Housing goes up, crime goes up, people are losing their job or wages to the cheaper labor. I mean, we are crushing future generations if we're going to allow what Biden did for 4 years to continue to take place. And I give Trump all the credit in the world for what he has done at the border, right? We keep talking about it's a ghost town down there. They locked it up, but there are still so many people here. Why is your healthcare going up? It's because it's subsidizing the illegal aliens that are here. They should not be here. If he's so hardworking, go back to your country and maybe try to work hard on getting the country propped up. I can't show the sympathy here because also too, Trump and Tom Homan, at least previously, and Christy Dome had touted the message. Your days are numbered. We are giving you the window. Get out of here. We're coming. We're deporting. So if you're an illegal alien and you're an illegal alien and this is the change in the administration, there has been months-long opportunity since November 5th when the election happened to get out of this country. They're even giving these, what I think are a little bit ridiculous incentives of, oh, we may give you $1,000 so you can really properly get out of here. No, you came here illegally. Your first act of coming to this country was an act of crime. Go, get out. If you're born here, and even that's going to now maybe hopefully get some change if SCOTUS can do the right thing, you're an American citizen. But if you are not, go. You're not meant to be here. I don't know how much more we have to hone that in because we said it back in January when they were inaugurated. I remember literally saying this in my mind. My fear was that we were going to grow soft on it, that people would have sympathy or empathy, almost become a guilt complex over it. And Democrats have always been ones to be radical and maniacs to say like, "Oh, we're really disturbing the country with all these Gestapo actions of deporting." And we've said it like, do not fall for it. So this idea that Tom Homan is going to say it's time to go a little soft and we really got to worry about the illegal families. What about the families who have lost, children, not to just MS-13 or not just to a cartel, but to an illegal alien driver who should not be driving? I mean, me and Ryan, I'm sorry if I'm on a roll now. We have been watching Judge Judy, right? That you would be like, why are two young men watching Judge Judy? But she's honestly fantastic. She had an episode last night and we watched it. We're like, wow, talk about hitting close to home, where an illegal alien, or very much presumed to be, 16-year-old, not supposed to be, driver, hit into a couple at the pedestrian and she almost had no remorse for doing so. And the whole point was she shouldn't have been driving because she doesn't have a license because she can't get a license because she's an illegal alien. So how many more stories are we gonna have to go through where people lose their child, lose their spouse, lose their livelihood because of the ramifications of allowing these people to stay here? So that's my overall take.
Yeah, you know what I'm going to say to Norma, and I say it with all due politeness, because people like Norma, I'm sure she's a great American, and she wants. I mean, if she's listening to this show, obviously she cares about this kind of stuff. But she's allowing, as you just said, her heartstrings to get in the way of what really is common sense. And people like Norma don't change their tune, unfortunately, until something bad happens to them. And I'm always brought back to tell the story about the one woman who I interviewed in They Come to America 1. This is the first time I'm ever sitting in front of an angel parent. I didn't even know the term angel parent. And there was a guy, his name was Gustavo, I think, and he was an illegal from Latin America. And he worked with this woman's daughter and husband. So the husband and the daughter worked for the same company. They knew this guy for years. He was the nicest man. He always did nice things. In fact, on Fridays, every Friday, the entire company, including him, would go out for a couple of cocktails at happy hour. That's how close they were. Well, Gustavo started to like the daughter, started to have feelings for her. And he told the daughter this. And the daughter said, I appreciate that, but I don't have feelings for you. I just want to be friends. Well, that wasn't enough for him. So on one Friday, when they were supposed to go to happy hour, he told her, the daughter, that his car wasn't working and would she give him a ride? And she said, absolutely, because they were friends. He forced her to pull over into an empty parking lot. He raped her. Then he wound up killing her, or at least he thought he killed her, bashing her brain and all this other different stuff, and put her in the trunk of the car. He then went and had cocktails with the father at the bar. Father said, do you know who my daughter is? He said, no, I have no idea. After the cocktails were done, he went back to make sure that the job was complete. When he opened up the trunk, he saw that the girl was still alive, and he finished the job. Now, I know the details of this beyond that woman because my stepfather was actually one of the detectives on that case when it was up. So there's an example of a guy who you think is the nicest guy in the world, and he just wants to do hard work and be a good guy. You don't know who these people are. They have not been vetted, and they started off illegally. You take it, Dennis.
Yeah, I mean, even a comment here,
Put me on mute.
share an opinion on an illegal alien after you personally know one. I have known a few based on the work that we have had to do. So, I just feel overall that my stance, as hardcore as it is, has some legitimacy. I think DML has a phone call, so. But just overall, I mean, not to go too long on it. I mean, even what just happened with the South Africans who were brought over here on a refugee migrant status. I would think, or I could just say, I think Democrats are kind of showing almost a true evil with this in particular, because I'm more on the hardcore of I think there should be a almost a full stop on immigration for at least a 2 year time while we can actually build the country back up. And yet we're still allowing some of these refugee programs based on what judges are ruling or what injunctions are being imposed. But overall, I think what it's also showing is it's playing the Democrats in the sense of, okay, we just had mostly white, 50 South Africans come over because their own government in various different ways have called for their death and murder. If I was in that country, I would probably feel very unsafe if one of my elected leaders or elected parties was doing that. So, oh, right, are you playing a? I just saw a clip play. Yeah, sorry guys, we're having some trouble here, but either way, I think it's just very telling that overall immigration right now it needs to be on the hardcore. We need the mass deportations. We need things to just go in a certain direction that we all voted for it to happen and go for. And truthfully, too, I just when I see something like that with Tom Homan, it definitely makes me a little worried about if we ever really achieve that goal. But going back a little bit too, we do have a video here. We'll go into this, and maybe I can get Ryan's take on it too. We have a video here of Ayanna Presley calling for essentially reparations for Black Americans because somehow that is still a topic that we are recycling years later.
Discrimination against Black people. We are in a moment of anti-Blackness on steroids, and we refuse to be silent. We will not back down in our pursuit of racial justice. The antidote to anti-Blackness is to be pro-Black, and we will do it unapologetically. The United States government owes us a debt, and we need reparations now.
I would maybe just ask in the comments if anyone agrees with Ayanna Presley here about getting reparations for Black Americans. I think we're long past due on this still being a topic. We just played the Ayanna Presley video, basically her touting very fast, I should say, that reparations are due for Black Americans because that's still a topic that I guess finds relevancy in our constituency.
Single American. I don't think there's any Americans who, in fact, I asked that question the other day on Facebook. I said, do you think that Trump would sign a bill like that into law? And I don't think there was one person who said yes. So, I mean, that's just a pipe dream. It's just what's happening is that the Democrats are out there trying to change narratives and trying to create leadership roles. And they keep on coming up with these cockamamie things between these impeachment articles and now $1 trillion reparation. I mean, they're just trying to get attention to themselves, just like Comey with his 8647. So I don't see I don't see a situation where we're really going to have to worry about that. It's just more propaganda and more just trying to pull attention to yourself. It's pretty damn pathetic. But getting back to where we were before I got the phone call, and I'm sorry I had to take out, that was my doctor about my hand. I was telling the story about that young girl, who had died, and how it is that these people have no right to be here, even if they appear to be nice. Somebody on this somebody on this podcast today said, "Keep your enemies closer." So then, why don't we all take an illegal alien and let them live in our house? It just doesn't make any sense.
No.
Every single last person in this country should be deported. That's it. I've never changed my position on this. And it's not a function of hating on people. It's not a function of that at all. President Trump is worried about getting trade deals done and worried about getting more investment here in the United States. I appreciate that. But I think there's a lot better way to get people having money in their pocket, right? So think about the easier of two things. And then just use your common sense. I'd love to hear the comments on this. I'd love to see the comments on this. So you got President Trump. President Trump's theory is we need to make people have more money in their pocket. So I'm going to go over to the Middle East and I'm going to get $1.4 trillion and I'm going to bring it back here to the United States. And we're going to have a lot of new Middle Eastern investment and Middle Eastern buildings and Middle Eastern whatever. We're going to let the Middle East invest in the United States and see how that goes. And maybe this will make more money in your pocket. Maybe you'll have a better job because of, thank God, the Middle Easterners. Or now you got President Lynch. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a different tact. I'm going to say, President Trump, you could go over in Middle East. I'm going to stick at home. Here's what I'm going to do at home. First and foremost, I'm going to sign mandatory e-verify. Every single company in this country is going to have to verify that the person you're hiring is not an illegal alien. And if that person is an illegal alien and you continue to hire them, we're going to shutter your business. It's that simple. Now, I can tell you that 99.99% of the people who hear that message, who have businesses, are going to get rid of those illegal aliens. And when they do, and when those illegal aliens are deported because they can't have jobs, when they self-deport because they can't have jobs, a couple of things are going to happen. Number one is that those jobs that were filled by illegal aliens are now going to be filled by Americans, and for probably a couple of dollars more than what they were paying the illegals. So there's one up in terms of the money coming. Number two is people who were unemployed, who couldn't find jobs, and a lot of these are the high school kids and the young kids coming out of college and the people who are low skilled, they're now going to have jobs. So there's another thing where we got people coming off welfare. There's a big, huge thing. And then in terms of more money in your pocket, do you have any idea of how much more money you would have in your pocket today if you were not paying through your property tax for the schooling of illegal aliens? If you were not paying the healthcare premiums that you pay, so this way you can pay for the surgeries and the births of the illegal alien and even the snuffy noses? Do you have any idea of how much money you would be saving if you didn't have to pay for all of the courts and the prisons and the cops and the public funded lawyers? You have any idea how much money you would be saving if those people were not in your country? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a situation to where everybody's going to have lower costs and more jobs because I am going to get rid of the people who are here illegally in the one best way to do it, which, oh, by the way, President Trump is signing all these executive orders, but there's one that's not been put on his desk for him to sign, and I wonder if it's because he says he doesn't want to sign it, and that is mandatory e-verify. So ask yourself that question. Why the President of the United States, who has set the record for signing the most executive orders in the first 100 days of a presidency, why wasn't the most important fundamental one there on the number one topic that he ran on, which was illegal immigration? Why hasn't that been signed? If one of you people on Facebook can give me, or on Team DML or Rumble, if one of you can get me on that, if one of you can give me the reason why, and you shut me down and I say, you're right, you know what? I'll send you $100. There's not a single person that would be able to do it. There's not a single person be able to do it. So you have two choices: President Trump's strategy of the Middle East, or Dennis Michael Lynch's strategy of taking things at home in pole position.
Yeah, look, I mean, this is my last comment on it. You know, I've said it before. You've kind of said it too. You know, if there's a will, there's a way, and you know, there's not a lot to admire about a country like China, but I've said it before too. There's one thing that I will give them credit for, maybe even to a degree, Russia, despite all their antics. They have always been very prime on national identity and thinking generationally. And what I mean by that is if you're watching and you have a kid, or your kid has a kid, so you have a grandkid, I'm sure you probably wonder every once in a while, what is life going to look like for them in 20 years, 30 years, 40 years? We kind of in the country, and this wasn't always the case. I think our founding fathers and early on in the country, we did think differently. But now, you know, we have most people thinking in terms of election seasons or in quarters or, you know, on 4 years, 5 years, or how does it look in after this president comes in and this one is elected in, or what does the Congress make up after this midterm? Like we're always short sighted in the thinking. And I would love to see if the mindset could be changed of how do we think generationally in the sense of what do we look like in 100 years? Will our grandkids be in a thriving country like it was 50, 60 years back in this country after the world wars and there was that boom? Or are they going to be still competing for a job against an illegal alien and now possibly an AI robot? I get worried in that sense of how does the future look if we're not, trying to design the country to be sustainable for the kids of the future, for future Americans. So I would really love it if, Trump and the administration can stick to the message, sign something like or as is e-verify so that it can make it a lot easier. Russia and China do not allow millions of illegal immigrants to come into their country. I think there's a reason for that, and I don't admire them. They have a lot of issues, those two. But clearly, and Trump is doing it with the border, but clearly the fact that we even had a president in Biden and even in Obama that just allowed it to happen for so long. And previously, it happened under Bush too, but it's just expedited year after year. The fact that we are even allowing that to happen or allowed it to happen that's treasonous, Bruce Springsteen, in my opinion. What's a country without borders, truthfully?
Well, Dennis, I mean, I don't know if most people know this or not, but if you look at the lyrics, I mean, pull them up on your computer if you want. If you look at the lyrics of "Born in the USA," his big song, everybody thinks that's a patriotic song. It's not a patriotic song.
It's not.
Born in the USA is an anti-USA song. I mean, just get the lyrics up and you can read them. And if you find the sections of it, it's pathetic, right? So let's go back to AI for a second, and you will bring those lyrics back up. I see you have them there, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead, read them.
Do you want me to read? I
ahead.
could try to. Okay. Born down in a dead man's town. The first kick I took was when I hit the ground. End up like a dog that's been beat too much till you spend half your life just covering up now.
There you go. Yeah, give me another phrase.
Got in a little hometown jam, so they put a rifle in my hand, send me off to a foreign land to go and kill the yellow man.
There you go. All right, keep on going.
Come back home to the refinery. Hiring man says, son, if it was up to me, went down to see my VA man. He said, son, don't you understand? Yeah, I had a brother at Kisan fighting off them Viet Cong. They're still there. He's all gone. He had a woman he loved in Saigon. I got a picture of him in her arms. Yeah. Down in the shadow of the penitentiary, out by the gas fires of the refinery, I'm 10 years burning down the road, nowhere to run, and ain't nowhere to go.
There you go. Born in the USA. So there's a guy, an absolute liberal prick, all right, who made a fortune in this country because this country afforded him freedom because he had a talent. And what does he do? He uses that talent and he uses that microphone to blast the United States of America for what it is. And then, this is...
the name of his tour is Land of Hope and Dreams.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. The guy is such a scumbag.
Yeah.
He is so representative of the liberal disease that carries through this country. It's amazing because every time I had to go to the bank the other day, we had to sign documents, my mother and I, and I met somebody, and she was from New Jersey. She was with a woman who was doing the signatures, whatever the hell call it, she's witnessing the whole thing. And I said, "Oh, you're from New Jersey, Billy Joel or Bruce Springsteen?" And Bruce Springsteen, right away. As soon as she says that, you know what I said to myself? All right, it's got to be a liberal, right away. Because if somebody says to me, if I'm not, I was like, you know what? Maybe I like Bruce's music better, but you know what? He's anti-America. That's just the way it is. But I want to get to this AI thing here for a second. As we wind down here the show, did you play the AI video yet? Oh, goodness gracious. I have on this program been warning people about AI and about how fast and rapid it is in the change that it's making. And for those of you who are my age or older, if you think back on our lives and even the lives of our parents, and you ask them what were like the two biggest things to come, developments that changed everything, I think most people would tell you the telephone and the automobile, because they fundamentally changed everything, right? Before you had the telephone, you couldn't talk to anybody. You had to write a letter, right? Now on the telephone, you could hear people around the world in real time. I had a friend of mine yesterday called me from Scotland. It sounded like he was next door. Then you have the automobile. Before you had the automobile, you had to take a horse, right? Or you had to walk. Now all of a sudden, something that used to take you days, you wind up getting there in 20 minutes. AI is going to make those two things seem as if they were minuscule in terms of development. We're going to play a video right here about a school in Texas that is using AI to educate. And then we'll come back and I'll give you my 2 words on this. One about the scare of this, and 2 about the promise. Go.
A school in Texas is turning heads with its bold approach to education. At Alpha School, students spend 2 hours a day learning with AI teachers. The artificial intelligence adapts its lessons to each student, providing one-on-one personalised education. So what happens after those 2 hours are done? Well, the rest of the day is all about real-world skills, from tying shoelaces to learning how to swim and solving 100-piece puzzles. And the results are surprising. Students are scoring in the top 1 to 2% nationally, with the results so strong the model is expanding to states including Florida, California, and New York.
All right, Dennis, give me the one thing, real quick, the one thing that you think is promising about that.
I think at least that they're actually doing more real world application things, right? I mean, they said that they do the 2 hours on the computer doing the AI learning, but then it's allowing them other times. I think what it was like tying their shoes, but then other things of like, I would like it if truthfully, right? Because I'm not a pro homework person. I think one thing that homework is a little bit detrimental on is that it's always on the reliance of the young, inexperienced student to try and understand something that I guess the teacher couldn't incorporate also in the classroom. Doesn't mean you can't always have homework, but there was always a difference, I think, with teachers who applied so much homework outside the classroom compared to those that were able to condense it and they had it, had the students retain the information, and not only just retain it, but actually understand it and then apply it on the test. I think we have one, and I kept mentioning about future generations. I think our one trouble, and you've seen it too, is that the real world life skills for kids, for generational people like Gen Z and even some of the millennials, was that they didn't get enough of that because they were too busy in the classroom learning about things that, whether it was certain ideas of mathematics, but even on the more radical side of the spectrum, why we would ever have a course on gender ideology is beyond me. So if this is a way to cut down the BS on that and say, hey, now you have more time to maybe do woodworking, maybe learn how to file your taxes, learn how to maybe change the engine on a car, things that just are more unconventional but shouldn't be unconventional, should be the conventional that every kid learns and knows how to do in the real life, is great. Because I think one thing that is going to have to be accepted is that AI is not going away in any sense. It's the Pandora's box. It has been opened. You can't really close it. So the best approach is, how do we make it work? And I don't want AI to take away critical thinking skills. I'd rather it be almost like what the calculator did. The calculator was introduced and it was a way to simplify adding, subtracting, dividing, and multiplying. So if it could be used as a tool to better learn different topics, fantastic. I just don't want it to replace critical thinking. And then in addition to that, if it allows more time in the school day or the work day to learn things that are more hands-on and more practical in the real world, then I see that as an upside.
So I upside and downside on for me, I'll start with the downside. There is something special when you get a great teacher. And if you have a great teacher, that teacher is not only a beacon for math and science, etc. It's also somebody who you could look up to. It's somebody who you can trust. It's somebody who you can share your emotions with or your questions with and know that you're going to get back honesty. And I mean, I know I had a couple of teachers in my life who were just so special and instrumental to me in more ways than just what's 2 + 2 = 4. That gets taken away. Also, an AI system is not necessarily going to be able to see if little Johnny looks like he was just rung around the tree from his father, who is, an abusive person. So you're taking that out of it a little bit. But more on the other side that scares me is that just like we fear an ideology-driven teacher who usually is very identifiable by either the pink hair, the earrings in the lip, or the pride flag that she hangs up right next to the American flag if she puts the American flag up in the classroom, those headphones on those kids, we don't know what's being said to them from the AI. And most AI, at least to this point, has been developed by liberal developers. So we are very, very vulnerable to that. The good news is, in the same thing that I'm scared about, the good news is if we can control that, we rip out the BS that these teachers have been giving these kids. And these kids are scoring higher on tests now with the AI learning. So maybe it's cutting right to the chase. The one thing that the report doesn't say, Dennis, which I'd be very interested in knowing, is that so in the old world, if the three of us were in a classroom, and clearly you're the best one out of the three of us with scholastics, so you would capture things maybe faster than Ryan and I would, right? But the teacher is teaching that lesson at a pace, and that pace may be too quick for me, may be too slow for you. In this particular way with the AI, they're going to go faster for you. They're going to take a little bit longer for me because I'm not getting the math as quick. And they may say, "No, Ryan, why are you so quiet when you're answering me the questions? Is everything okay today?" So they're taking different paces. We're all going at our individual speed and what we are comfortable and not comfortable with. And I know that I would learn better if it was designed exactly to my benefits and to my shortcomings than if I'm doing some generalized lesson plan for everybody as a whole.
Yes, that's the thing. I mean, there's so many different spheres of AI, like even AGI, where it's more generative. It's tuned to the student's needs. But here's the issue too, as you just mentioned. The question becomes who is programming a lot of these systems, and I think there was a test recently done on 20 popular, and Grok was included, but 20 popular AI platforms, and they all more primarily showed liberal bias. So part of that issue is if I had full scope on it, is neutrality needs to be inserted to the highest extent with something that is so basically revolutionary, right? It's almost like the fifth industrial revolution coming to America here because it's so new, but at the same time, it's so fast developing compared to anything else. I mean, you go back 20 years ago, we still didn't have the iPhone just yet. So now we're what 4 years into models such as ChatGPT and others, and it's already developing on itself. So I think it's definitely a Pandora's box where this is going to be very tough to navigate. I think my overall positive takeaway is that if it helps students, as you said, at their different paces, learn and understand better without taking away the critical thinking aspect, because there is no doubt, I'm sure everyone who is a teacher or knows a teacher or knows of a teacher has some nightmare story about a student that has used AI to cheat or scapegoat on a test. So there needs to be ways of kind of restricting that, whether it's going back to paper written tests and paper written exams to be more in class, so that when you learn from AI on the outside and you're coming in and you're doing the final exam, it's not something that you can just cheat on. Like some teacher posts on X that he caught his student using AI to cheat on the test, and then the student used AI to write an apology letter on email. So it's like I don't want to see the over reliance on it. I would rather it just be a tool that could be utilized. But the overall truth is, just like you need air to breathe, unless something like an asteroid coming down, and knock on the wood, AI is so not going anywhere. If anything, it is being invested upon heavily compared to anything more. In fact, I think they just released that more people are now officially using ChatGPT for their search engine use than Google, right?
Yep.
And Google's the big one.
Yep.
So we're clearly moving on to a whole nother sphere here. But my hope and my takeaway, as I was just trying to lead up to, is that if the students are using the AI for the 2 hours, but they're outside for the rest of them and they're learning other things, well, thank goodness, because we have an obesity epidemic. We have a screen attachment issue. We were able to get through hundreds of years in this country without a screen in our face. And while it's probably impossible to do now because there's so much reliance on it, I really would like it if we could at least teach the next generation that you don't always need to be in front of a screen. I mean, I talk about it with Ashley all the time. She'll be there before me, but she says, when I have kids, like I'm going to hold off as long as I can before putting an iPhone or an iPad in their hands.
Mm.
Because I would rather go to a restaurant and see the kid who probably can't engage in the adult conversation because they're 2 or 3, writing in a color book and getting creative than sitting on the iPad with the headphones in, completely tuned out, watching something that, if it's on Netflix, you got to worry about if it's LGBTQ craziness, or just doing something that they shouldn't be doing. So I'm all for it if it can be worked out properly, I guess is my overall takeaway.
Yeah, I agree with you, but this stuff is moving so quickly. It's very, very dangerous. In fact, talking about moving things quickly, I can't believe I didn't put this at the beginning of the show. Ashley's going to kill me. We have, for those of you who are just tuning in and you're like, hey, what happened to DML Studio? I'll repeat what many people already know, but we are leaving the facility that we had for the past 2 years because our lease is up and I'm not renewing it. So we're going to a new place, which means that we're doing the podcast from here, even though the podcast is coming to an end. This podcast comes to an end on May 31. And then if you want to listen to me one time a week, it's going to be a long-form podcast because I'm doing it all in one day. Denny and Ryan will join me for about a half hour. Mary will join me for another half hour. And then I'll be doing the majority of the rest of it by myself and doing interviews or whatever. But it will be one time a week. You want to go to teamdml.com and become a member. That's how you'll be able to stay with us. But the other part is that our CBD company, and we're moving. So in moving, because the boys are the ones who are having to move all the stuff by themselves, they said, Dad, is there any possibility that we can do a final blowout so this way we don't have to move any inventory, make it a little bit easier on us? And I said, absolutely. So I am being Mr. Generous here, all right, in a way that I have never been before. I am giving away my CBD, at least 3 products that we have that are sitting there that we want to get rid of. We are giving it away well below our cost. The dollar amount I'm going to give you right now is insane. And we announced it yesterday, and I think the majority of already the face serums almost all gone. DML CBD face serum, DML CBD hand and foot cream, which I think is underestimated in terms of how awesome that thing is.
Oh, yeah.
I know other people who use it for their whole body, to be quite honest. There's no reason to limit it to the hand and foot, but that's what we created
Elbows.
Elbows, you could use it on anything.
It's great for elbows.
And then, of course, DML CBD Pet. Those 3 things there, people swear by. Each one of those right now, if you buy just one bottle of that, it's only $12. Usually sells for $60. If you buy 2 bottles, we lowered it down to, what, 18?
Yeah.
Is it $18? So you'd pay $9 each. And if you buy 3 bottles, it's only $7. I'm taking a bath on this stuff. So you go to dmlcbd.com and you go to the buy button. It's a buy tab at the top. The face serum, the hand and foot cream, or the pet. All 3 of those, I'm blowing out the door. It's not a BOGO. It's not a buy one, get one free. In fact, this is much lower than what you'd pay for a BOGO. This is below my actual cost. All right. So we're going in there. We had a couple of hundred of each one.
Yeah.
I think we're almost done with the face serum. So you want to get over there now. If you want the individual links, it's dmlcbd.com/face for the face serum.
Yep.
You could get it for either, like I said, $12, $9, or $7, depending on if you buy 1, 2, or 3. Then it's dmlcbd.com/cream for the hand and foot cream. I highly suggest that.
Mm-hmm.
And then dmlcbd.com/pet. Now, let me tell you a little story about the pet thing for a second.
I was going to tell a story.
my dog, Summer, I don't know how it happened, either jumping on or jumping off the bed, did something to her right shoulder on her right front leg. And Mary's like, oh my God, the dog could barely walk. And I said, all right, give me the pet. And she goes, do we have any? I said, of course we have any. It's in the closet. So we go to the closet. I take the pack. I open it up. I take Summer. I don't even put it in anything like a treat or anything. I just open her mouth and I take a full tincture. I put it in. Okay. Next day, she's walking half better.
Yeah.
I do another one. Boom. The next day, she's running, jumping on the bed, whatever. Mary's like, my God, that stuff is magic.
I just, it's so far, I literally just, because I'm watching Summer right now because of your hand injury and, with mom's condition. And, they saw that I was getting ready to leave and they get all like anxious. So I just gave her a droplet and Robin a droplet because I know it's going to, calm them down. But
Yeah.
no, it's a great, I mean, I even said it last year. I think it's the perfect timing for this sale too, because I always find myself using the face serum and the hand and foot cream primarily in the summertime because I try, talk about being outside. I try to be outside all the time. And when I get a little more burnt up because my skin can get sensitive, I lather it as soon as I get back to my apartment.
Yeah.
So, it's a good time considering the summer months, especially if you're on the, northeast coast. It's going to start getting very hot soon.
Northeast
So-
Coast. You ever go to Arizona?
Arizona, well, I mean, it's always hot there when it's
Northeast Coast.
yeah,
If you want to escape the heat,
yeah.
that's where you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
it's a good time for it.
yeah, I mean, I got to tell you, that probably by the end of today, most of the stuff will be gone. So you want to go in there and take it. And I saw a question here on Facebook. I didn't see who posted it real quick. I saw it says, "What about the sleep with melatonin?" We've been out of the sleep with melatonin for months, and we were changing that formula and to make it more robust. And it turns out to be that the guy that we were using, he wound up getting sick or something like that. And he said, "Dennis, I got to put it on the back shelf." He's back to work, and now we are back getting ready with that. And so we should have it. I mean, this is really up to Denny and Ryan because they spearhead this. We should have it in about 3 to 4 weeks. It will be back on the shelves.
Yes. I think it was actually Sam who just asked that. Yeah,
Okay.
So I'll reach out. Yeah.
All right. Well, we appreciate your time. DMLCBD.com, in case you couldn't remember all those URLs, the face serum, the pet, and the hand and foot. Also, don't forget 47report.com. Put your email address in there. You'll be able to stay with us always. And for those of you who want to carry on with me at least once a week, go to teamdml.com. If you sign up for the big membership, we give you a free bottle of Miracle Me 6.7 ounce body oil. And if you sign up for the smaller membership, you get a free mini bottle of that. So lots of stuff for you to digest there. But if you would just take one away, my suggestion is go in and buy that CBD right now because I'm never going to offer that deal again. I can't be losing money. That's how you go out of business. And I'm not Joe Biden. So until the next time, which will be sometime next week, I think we're doing Monday. May God bless you, your family, the United States of America, President Trump, Vice President Vance. Enjoy your weekend. And do we have somebody for a blessing?
Yes. Today's Team Neal blessing goes out to Anita Griffey.
Oh. Anita Griffey, for those who don't know, runs the DML news app. You should download that too.
You should. Yes.
Well, we'll talk to you soon.
Get the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast every day by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and download the DML News app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for breaking news, merchandise, films, exclusive content, and Team DML.